There is an artist in the book community, and there was a call out about them on Threads. So let's take a look at this entire situation. So this kicks off with a post made by OP Book Nerdies writing, "Authors, please be aware of this person claiming to be an artist. He just scammed one of my authors. He scams people by hand sketching art. The hand sketches are his, but the art is not. He's tracing it and then putting it through AI. He's done this to a lot of authors. I've attached proof." So this is the artist in question, and again, please don't send hate to any parties involved. As you can see with the artist, they clearly can draw. They have a lot of sketches. Here's a traditional sketch. Here they have another traditional sketch. Here they have another traditional sketch. They can draw, and they can draw well. They have good anatomy. They have a very stylized way they draw faces and eyes. I love the way they draw eyes. Here's another one, very expressive, very cute, another traditional piece. Another one. So where does the AI controversy come in? Because this artist clearly has hands. Well, OP writes, as you can see, his style changes a lot. And if you scroll to 2 years ago, you can really start to tell he was using AI from the beginning. So here we have a post where you can see it's a group of people, keep calm and eat, etc., etc. And it's again a really cute sketch. And then here we have the final piece. Here we have another sketch. And then here we once again have the final piece. One thing that I do think is a little bit interesting is that between the sketch, they have like a very stylized way they draw faces in the sketch, but then a lot of their style is gone in the final piece. I mean, maybe they cleaned it up, they rendered it in a specific way. I also think a lot of times if an artist has a very stylized way to draw faces, it still looks like that when they render the piece. So I think it's interesting that a lot of their style disappears in the final piece. And looking at artwork on their page, a lot of it also has that too. Here we have this post where, like the male lead is sleeping on a little armchair with the baby, and then she's kind of walking. Again, very, very stylized in the faces. The faces look completely different here, but there's also a little bit of oddities in the piece. If you take a look here, there's a lot of weird looping that we have going on with the hair. Again, maybe it's like compression due to the fact that this is like a really small image, but the hair is really odd. There's a lot of like crunchy stuff happening here. And then somehow the hair is also like warping with the detailing of the robe. I don't know. It's a little funny. Maybe it's compression. Maybe it's because I screenshotted this off of an Instagram post. But like, here we have a lot of oddities happening with the robe, the waistband of the robe, and the way it's tied. Now, delving into what OP wrote, they write, "This is what he sent my author, the sketch, and then what he finally sent her. I could instantly tell it's AI." So here, a sketch was sent of them kind of kissing. There is a lamp pole in the middle, and then a train coming this way. This sketch looks really cute. It looks really legit. The pose looks really good. We have the division, kind of like the rule of thirds happening here. Oh, but then this is the final piece. This looks so AI. And again, I know looking AI isn't the only factor that we need to consider, right? Because AI steals from real artists. So of course, real artists will have work that looks AI if their work was trained on. But again, this not only doesn't look like the works on their Instagram page, like what I was saying, it once again doesn't look like the sketch. A lot of the essence of the sketch is gone. Kind of like the way the eyes are drawn, etc., the tilt of the chin. All of that is gone. And they add, I mean, seriously, you could tell. Plus, the characters he drew were very obviously AI. So here are some screenshots of the train windows, this mystery lamp thing, whatever nightmare fuel is happening in this window, and then the ground, the very wobbly ground. And yeah, definitely if we take the image and we look closely, there are so many aspects of it that look really weird. Besides this window with nightmare fuel, who exactly is this? Like, where is this person looking? Down this way? Forward? That's hard to tell. What's happening in this window? I don't know. What's happening in this window? Also don't know. The light of the train is also really off. There's so many oddities happening in this piece, beyond just it looks AI generated. And again, it looks nothing like any of the other artists' work. Also, what's this like leaf stuck to her back? Another person adds, "I've used this artist several times for rendered and colored pieces. I have now asked for a time lapse of the work." And somebody asked, "Did you get the time lapse?" And they said no. Another commenter adds, "The crazy thing is, if those sketches are his own work, he shouldn't need to put them through AI. He's already really talented on his own. I hate that AI has made already talented artists and writers feel like they need to put their art and writing through AI to keep up with the slot because they think it's better than theirs." And another person writes, "Finally somebody saying it. I noticed it too. They keep claiming their pieces are hand-drawn and colored when it's pretty obvious they're being made with AI. More people need to know about this." And another person says, "Oh my god, finally. lately. I've been begging people to spread the message about them, as my stories weren't reaching the right audience. I've contacted the artist many times with multiple accounts, asking for proof, time lapse before accusing, and they either always blocked me or deleted my comments. Their hand drawn work is also not hand drawn, as it's made through AI, which then he traces and claims to be his own. He also scammed one of my friends and never gave any work in progress images and directly provided an AI generated image. It shocks me how he's getting commissions over commissions every other day when his work is so obviously AI. We need to keep spreading the word so people boycott him, as I have approached him respectfully on multiple occasions and nothing was done about this. So the artist starts replying to everybody, right? So the artist replied to this person saying, "Why do you say I blocked you and didn't reply? I didn't block you, and you're being mean and ruining people by doing that because what you're saying isn't right, and I have not deceived or scammed anyone." And the commenter responds, "Rather than crying about me lying, which I'm not, because I can provide proof, but can you show me a proof of layers you worked on or a live video of you drawing, the digital version or a time lapse?" They also replied to this original post writing, "Why do you want to ruin my reputation? This is downright mean. I do not use AI to color. What you show as evidence is just human errors because I'm learning to color, and the differences in drawing are improvements made digitally. Furthermore, I use an app that uses AI to enlarge the files because I was asked for a specific format, and only after I finish the drawing. I don't understand why you're accusing me, and do you realize the harm that's being done?" So of course, let's break this down a little bit. This is not the first time that there's been a situation where somebody was accused of using AI in their process, and then they claim to use an AI upscaler to upscale their work, which already is interesting because one, I feel like most artists do not want to use AI upscalers because people who are against generative AI are also against the generative upscalers for the same reason, but to each their own. Secondly, if that truly were the case, right? If it truly were the case that an AI upscaler was used, then there should be a non-upscaled version, right? Where there aren't these oddities in the window. So you could be like, I used an upscaler, it mucked up the train, which is why it looks this way. Like, here is the original version. And the original version with like the normal looking people in the train. But that wasn't provided, which is a bit interesting. Also, this was a bit odd, but in response to this post where they were showing like older artwork being like, yo, this person looks like they've been using AI since the beginning, the artist responds, "You're hilarious. Those drawing in those posts are by some of the greatest artists around." And OP's like, "Wait, what artists?" And they're like, "How are you such an expert you can't recognize works by Cassandra Jean, LFCL, Ethan Art, etc.? Besides, what have I done that you accuse me like this?" Maybe English isn't their first language because like OP was talking about their artwork, not other people's artwork, so I'm not sure what's being referenced here. So in another reply about OP asking, "Hey, do you have proof that you colored your works?" They then added proof of them coloring other works. So here is them coloring this sketch, the sketch version. Here's another version of them coloring another version. I think the argument was not, can this person draw or not? Because I do think this person is capable of drawing, right? This person can draw, the person can sketch. But this actually further proves the commenter's point, OP's point, because this is not what they gave the client. This is not this. And I'm not saying this to try to be rude, but these are two very different styles of drawing. This is like the very like hyper realistic anime style where a lot of AI uses this, where it's like very, very realistic. The skin is overly smooth. Everything is very, very polished, highlighted. And there's a lot of fine texture details on the clothing. And that's just not this. This is cell shaded. It's cute. I'm not saying it's bad, right? But this looks a lot more like what you would see in like a webtoon style, where it's a little bit more simplified, more cell shaded. The color palette is more limited. There's not as many textures going on. Not this. If this is the proof that they can color and draw, the argument again wasn't that they cannot color or draw because they can. The argument was, did you draw this? It's not really looking like the artist did draw this. Like, here's another example of how they shade skin. Again, benefit of doubt, maybe this isn't the finished piece. Here, like, look at the way the skin is rendered. The color palette they use for the skin is very limited. They only use like 3 different colors. There's the base color and there's like one darker color for the shading, one lighter color for the highlights. Here, the skin has like a bajillion different colors. We got a little bit of pink on the cheeks. We got a little bit of lighter color around this part of the face, more grays used for the shadow, a darker brown used for the sharp jawline. We have a much more bluish gray tint for the top of the forehead here. There is a myriad of colors going on this face, and this body only has 3. And same with this body as well. So again, it's just interesting because like the techniques that are being used in the image that was submitted to the client is not what's actually being presented by the artist as part of their evidence for them being able to draw. And so after sending all these images, the artist was like, "Is this AI?" And OP was like, "I want the time lapse for this drawing. not the other ones. And the artist says, if I gave you a time lapse, you'd be able to say that I made it with AI. The truth is, you don't want to hear it. The truth is, you're a bad person who enjoys smearing people. But it doesn't matter. My conscience is clear. And if you don't believe me, so be it. I find it very interesting because when it comes to situations where these types of people, artists, are being called out for potential AI usage, and of course, everybody reacts differently in a time of crisis when they're being accused of things that they allegedly did or did not do. But it's always very interesting because a lot of people who end up later being exposed for actually using AI, like hard proof, somebody found a Gemini logo in their art piece or something, they always end up really defensive. And of course, you're going to be defensive if you're accused of something you did not do. But they always end up extremely defensive while simultaneously providing zero evidence. That's typically something you don't often see. A lot of times, if somebody is falsely accused and they genuinely did draw it themselves, they say things like, no, I didn't do it. Like, here is proof. Here's a time lapse. Here's a speed paint. Here's layers. I'll live draw. Here's a stream that I did 2 weeks ago of me drawing. Like, here's all the evidence that you can possibly have to prove I didn't do it. But the defensiveness that people who later get caught, it's a different type of defensiveness because it's a defensiveness where they play on your emotions and they do the whole, how dare you accuse me? And I'm not going to provide proof because you wouldn't believe me anyways. They always turn the table back on you, which is always a bit interesting. And again, of course, the sentiment of like, I'm a legit artist, how dare you accuse me of using AI? It's definitely a fair sentiment to have if you are a legit person that like somebody accused you of doing something you didn't do. I hope you guys understand the point that I'm getting at. There's a YouTuber I love called Bows versus the World, and I feel like she explains like the emotional side of things and like breaking down nuances so much better. I love the way she explains it. I wish I had a Pinky's amount of eloquence that she has in dissecting these types of responses. But I hope you get what I'm saying, right? Like the whole, I'm not going to prove my innocence because you won't believe me. You don't often hear innocent people saying that. Innocent people typically are like, how dare you say that about me? But here is every single proof that I can provide you because I'm innocent. Defend their innocence to the day they die type stuff. So it's always very, very interesting. So at the end of the day, what are your thoughts and what do you believe? And again, please don't send hate to any parties involved. I personally believe what the original poster said, where this person can draw, they can sketch, they can color, but that some of their work has been modified by AI in some way, shape, or form. And it sucks because it's probably a situation where the artist felt like they had to do it in order to compete with, I don't know, like the amount of posting other people are doing, etc. Or maybe because they feel like their quality isn't as high as they would like it to, so they instead run it through AI to try to achieve such level of quality. I don't know. I think their sketches are really good. Like they have a lot of charm and personality and stuff in the way they draw faces. And then it just kind of sucks because it's gone in the final product. But again, regardless, it's not cool to deceive people with AI in a commission because they commissioned you for hand-drawn work and that's what they were expecting to get. So don't send hate to any parties involved, but I'd love to hear your thoughts with respect in the comment section down below. And with that, if you like this video, I appreciate it if you like and subscribe. Don't forget to check me out on Etsy. I have digital art there for streamers and creators. I also have a coffee with free resources like a free sponsorship guide, and I stream on Twitch 3 days a week, Mondays and Saturdays at 6 p.m., Thursdays at 7:30 p.m. PST. I hope to catch y'all there or in another video. Peace.